Every face you have ever seen, every road you have ever walked, and every night you have ever slept through, all of it happened on the surface of one small planet. It is the only world known to carry oceans, forests, and rain. It is the only world known to carry you. Tonight we are going to travel across that planet slowly, from the fire at its heart to the thin blue air at its edge. There is no hurry. The earth will keep turning while you rest. Every story needs a place to happen, and this story happens on a ball of rock and water that we call the earth. It is the floor beneath your bed and the ground beneath every road you have ever walked. Before any of that existed, there was only a cloud. 4.5 billion years ago, a vast cloud of gas and dust folded slowly in on itself in a quiet arm of our galaxy. Most of the cloud fell inward and became the sun. The story of our planet begins with what was left over. The leftovers were not much. They formed a wide, flat disk of dust and gas, turning slowly around the newborn star like mist around a lamp. Seen from far away, the disk would have looked like a soft golden ring lit gently from within by the young sun. Each grain of that dust was smaller than a grain of flour. If you had held a handful of it, you would have seen nothing worth keeping. Yet everything you have ever touched was in that disk. The iron in your blood was there. The stone of every mountain was there. It was all simply waiting to be gathered. The gathering began gently. 2 grains of dust met, touched, and stayed together. Then a third joined them, and a fourth. Static held them at first, the same soft force that makes dust cling to a shelf. Small clumps became pebbles. Pebbles met and became stones. There was no hurry in any of it. The disk had millions of years to spend, and it spent them all. When the clumps grew large enough, gravity took over the work. A body the size of a hill pulls on the space around it, only faintly, but faintly is enough. It draws in dust the way a slow river draws in leaves. The hills became mountains of rock floating in the dark. The mountains became small worlds, hundreds of kilometers across. And the small worlds patiently, over long ages, gathered one another in. One of them became the earth. It grew by keeping everything that came to it, the dust, the stones, the falling mountains. Each arrival added weight, and each arrival added warmth, because motion turns to heat when it stops. Deep inside, rare heavy elements slowly warmed the rock even more. In time, the young planet held so much heat that it could not stay solid. It melted almost all the way through. All of this asked for time, and time was the one thing the young solar system held without limit. 1,000 years passed, and then 1,000 more, and at that scale the counting means nothing. The planet grew the way a stalactite grows in a cave, drop by drop, in the dark with no one watching. Growing was simply what it did, quietly, for ages. Picture it hanging in the black, a soft orange sphere with no continents and no sea. Its surface was an ocean of melted rock, glowing quietly under the ancient stars. Waves of liquid stone rose and settled again. There was no sound out there to hear it, and there were no eyes yet to see it. The planet simply glowed and turned and waited. Inside the glowing sphere, a quiet sorting began. The heaviest material, mostly iron, sank slowly toward the middle the way sand settles in a jar of still water. The lighter rock rose toward the surface. The planet was arranging itself, layer by layer, without any plan and without any hurry. It was becoming a world with an inside and an outside. Then, over long ages, the surface began to cool. Space is cold, and the glowing rock gave its warmth away to the dark, a little at a time. A skin formed on the melted surface, thin and black like the skin that forms on cooling candle wax. The skin cracked, and orange light shone up through the cracks. Pieces of it sank and melted again, and new skin formed in their place. Slowly the black skin won. The cracks grew narrower, and the glow beneath them faded from the surface. The first true crust of the earth had formed, a floor of dark rock under a sky crowded with stars. If you could have stood there, kept safe from the heat, you would have seen star trails wheeling above a plain of fresh black stone. The world was young and bare and quiet. Nothing about this was fast. The earth was not built in a day or in 1,000,000 days. It was gathered grain by grain, the way a beach is gathered wave by wave. Patience is the oldest thing this planet knows. It waited as dust. It waited as stone. It waited as a glowing sea of rock, and then it waited as the rock grew still and dark and cool. And the warmth of that long beginning was never fully spent. The surface cooled, but the deep places kept their fire, wrapped safely under the new crust like coals banked under ash. That fire is still down there. It is far beneath your bed, far beneath the quiet streets, glowing patiently in the dark. The next part of the story goes down to meet it. The old fire never left. 4.5 billion years later, the deep earth is still warm with the heat of its long birth, and it is still letting that heat go, slowly, carefully, a little at a time. You live on the cooled part. Everyone does. The floor of your room, the street outside, the bedrock far under the street, all of it belongs to a thin and quiet shell of stone called the crust. The crust is thinner than most people ever guess. Compared with the whole planet, it is like the skin of an apple. Under the continents, it reaches down a few tens of kilometers. Under the floor of the ocean, it is thinner still. In some places, only a few kilometers of solid rock lie between the cold seawater and the glowing interior. Everything human beings have ever built rests on that narrow shell, and the shell holds. Press your hand flat against the floor and let it rest there. Far below your palm, deeper than any well, the rock turns warm. Deeper still it glows. The planet is not cold stone all the way down. It only wears a thin, cool glove where we live. Beneath the crust lies the mantle, and the mantle is most of the earth. It is a region of hot, heavy rock, almost 3,000 kilometers deep. The strange thing about the mantle is that it moves. The rock there is not liquid, and yet over great stretches of time it flows, the way old ice flows down a mountain valley. It flows more slowly than anything you have ever watched. Warm rock rises softly from the deep, cools and sinks again, tracing loops that take millions of years to close. Nothing down there ever hurries. The mantle turns over in the dark like a sleeper turning under a heavy blanket, once in a great while and always gentle. Below the mantle the rock ends and the metal begins. This is the outer core, an ocean of liquid iron far deeper than any ocean of water. The iron there is so hot that it pours and swirls like bright metal in a foundry, glowing and alive with slow currents. No one has ever seen it, and no one ever will. But we know it is there, because earthquakes send their trembling through the whole planet, and the deep layers bend that trembling the way water bends light. And at the very center of everything, the iron becomes solid again. The inner core is a single ball of metal about the size of Pluto, resting in the middle of the world. It is nearly as hot as the surface of the sun. Metal that hot should be liquid, but the weight of the entire planet presses in on it from every side, and under that endless pressure the iron holds still and stays solid and quietly turns with the rest of the earth. Some of the heat down there is left over from the days when the planet was gathered out of dust and falling stone. Some of it is made freshly, deep in the rock, where rare heavy elements give off warmth as slowly and steadily as embers. Together they keep the inside of the earth warm, and the planet spends that warmth so carefully that it will not run out for billions of years. Most of the time, the surface hides all of this completely. You can live a whole life on the cool crust and never once feel the fire below your feet. But here and there, the planet leaves a window open. A volcano is such a window. When melted rock finds a path up through the crust, it rises and spills out as lava, glowing orange against the night. As the lava cools, it darkens, and a black skin forms over the bright rock, laced with thin veins of light, like the young earth remembering how it began. There are gentler windows too. In some places, rainwater sinks deep into the ground, meets hot rock far below, and returns to the surface as steam and warm springs. Terraces of pale stone grow around the springs, layer upon layer, and in the evening the steam rises through the cooling air in soft gray columns. The water is warmed by the same old fire that melts the lava. It simply carries the heat upward in a quieter way. Old lava fields tell the story too, long after the glow has gone. Where thick flows of molten rock once cooled slowly, the stone shrank and cracked into tall, six-sided columns, rising together like organ pipes in the low evening light. They are the fire's handwriting, left out in the open, cooled into patience. All of these are only small leaks of warmth from a fire that has burned since the beginning. The deep earth keeps that fire wrapped in thousands of kilometers of rock, and it gives it up so slowly that the surface stays calm and cool and safe to sleep on. Above the fire lies the quiet crust, and above the crust, covering most of the planet, lies something the fire could never keep away: water. Where that water came from and why it stayed is the next part of the story. The fire beneath the floor built the land, but it also helped to fill the sea. This is the story of the water, and it is a gentle story, so let it move slowly. The young earth was nearly dry at first. Its surface was far too hot to hold a single pond. Yet water was already here, hidden where the heat could not burn it away. It was locked inside the rocks themselves, folded into the deep body of the planet. When the ground opened and breathed, that hidden water rose with the breath. Steam climbed from every vent up into the dark sky above the cooling land. This went on quietly for millions of years, one slow plume at a time. More water arrived from above. In those early ages, the space between the planets was still crowded with leftover pieces of ice and stone. Many of them wandered for a long while and then met the young earth. Each one carried a little frozen water, and each arrival left its small cargo behind. No single delivery mattered much on its own. But the deliveries did not stop, and the planet was patient. Slowly the sky filled with vapor, thicker and heavier, until at last the air could hold no more. Then it began to rain. It was the first rain the world had ever known. It fell on bare rock, hissed into steam, rose again, and fell again. For a long while the surface was too hot to keep it. But the planet went on cooling, and one day the rain began to stay. It gathered in the low places. Pools joined into lakes, and lakes joined into seas. Nobody knows exactly how long the great rains lasted, but they may have gone on for centuries. When the skies finally cleared, the world of fire had become a world of water. That water is still here. The sea you have watched with your own eyes is the same old water, kept safe for around 4 billion years. The planet received it slowly, and it has held it gently ever since. It is the water that stayed. Today, the ocean covers about 71% of the surface of the earth. If you could hold the whole planet in your view, you would see mostly blue. The continents rest in that blue like quiet islands, and the water goes on and on between them. Sail out from any shore, and the land soon sinks behind you. For days on end, there would be nothing but water meeting sky in a clean circle. The ocean is that wide. It is the largest single thing on the surface of the world. It is also deep in a way that is hard to feel from a beach. Its average depth is close to 4 kilometers. If you let a stone fall from a boat in the open sea, it would sink through darkness for the better part of an hour before it touched the bottom. There are places deeper still. In the western Pacific lies a trench whose floor sits about 11 kilometers below the waves. If the tallest mountain on land could be set down inside it, the summit would still rest beneath roughly 2 kilometers of water. Sunlight never reaches such depths. In the upper sea, sunbeams slant down through the blue like long pale curtains, swaying as the surface moves. But the light thins as it descends, and a few hundred meters down the last of it fades away. Below that, the ocean keeps a permanent, peaceful night. The surface is another world. Picture a calm, open ocean under a full moon. The water is not still, but it is unhurried. Long, low swells travel beneath the moonlight, each one lifting the surface gently and setting it down again. The moon lays a path of soft light across them, folding and unfolding with the water. At the edge of the land, the swells become waves. On a black sand beach at dusk, they arrive one after another in no hurry at all. Each wave runs up the dark sand, pauses and slides back to gather itself. The sound it makes is one of the oldest sounds on earth. Your body seems to remember that sound. Long before there were any people, there were waves, and their rhythm has never once stopped. Wave after wave, hour after hour, age after age. If you listen to it in your mind, your breathing slowly settles to match it. Here and there a sea stack rises offshore, a lone tower of rock in the twilight water. The waves circle it patiently, as they have for longer than anyone can say. On some warm coasts the night water even glows, a soft blue light stirred awake by tiny living things as the waves fold over them. The ocean at night asks nothing of anyone. It rises and falls in its own slow time under the moon and the passing clouds, whether anyone is watching or not. And notice that last word, clouds. The ocean of water does not truly end at its surface. Above the waves rests another ocean, an ocean made of air, lying upon the first like a second, lighter sea. You have spent your whole life at the bottom of it. That is where the story goes next. You live at the bottom of an ocean, not the ocean of water, but the one that rests upon it, the ocean of air. It presses gently on your shoulders at this very moment, and you have been moving through it since the day you were born. From the ground, the sky looks endless. From space, the truth is different. Astronauts who look back at the Earth see the atmosphere as a thin blue line, hugging the curve of the planet like the skin on a plum. Many of them say the same quiet thing afterward. They had no idea it was so thin. Nearly all of the air you will ever breathe stays close to the ground. Most of it gathers within the first 10 kilometers above the surface. That is roughly the height where long-distance passenger planes fly. When you look out of such a window, you're looking down on most of the atmosphere of the Earth. Climb a tall mountain and you can feel the thinning for yourself. The air grows cooler and lighter with every hour of walking. Near the highest summits of the world, each breath brings only a fraction of the oxygen it brings beside the sea. Measured against a person, the ocean of air is deep. Measured against the planet, it is a film of breath resting on stone. Yet that thin film does nearly everything. It carries every wind and every cloud. It carries every voice, every bird song, and every falling leaf. And in the quietest way possible, it paints the sky. Sunlight looks white, but it is really a blend of every color at once. When it enters the air, it meets countless molecules, each one far too small to see. They nudge the passing light and scatter it in all directions, and they scatter blue light far more strongly than red. So the blue is spread across the whole dome of the sky. On a clear afternoon, blue light arrives at your eyes from every direction at once, not just from the sun. The sky is blue because the air itself is quietly shuffling the sunlight, and blue is the color it shares most freely. At the close of the day, the same light tells a different story. When the sun sits low, its light must travel a much longer path through the air before it reaches you. Along that long road, almost all of the blue is scattered away. What survives the journey is orange and red. That is all a sunset is. The same white light, filtered by distance and air, arriving softened and warm. Over a dark plain, the colors settle into a smooth gradient, orange near the horizon, then gold, then a deep and deepening blue, with no seam anywhere between them. The ocean of air also builds things. Warm air near the surface rises, and it carries invisible water vapor upward with it. As the air climbs, it cools, and cool air cannot hold as much vapor as warm air can. So the vapor gathers itself into droplets around tiny floating specks, droplets far too small and light to fall. A cloud appears where a moment before there was only clear sky. A cloud is simply air showing its water. It is the breath of the planet made visible for a while. Some clouds tower. On a summer evening, a great cumulus can stand taller than any mountain on earth, and when the low sun catches it, the whole white tower turns rose and gold. Some clouds lie down instead. They fill the valleys at dawn, so that dark mountain ridges rise above them like islands from a soft white sea. A few clouds live at the very edge of space. On deep summer nights, long after sunset, faint silvery ripples sometimes appear high in the darkening sky. They are the highest clouds of the earth, thin veils of ice near the border of space, so high that they still catch the sunlight while the ground below has gone dark. And the atmosphere shelters as quietly as it decorates. Every day small grains of stone arrive from space, leftovers from the building of the solar system. They come in very fast. The air stands in their way, and the rush of it against them makes them glow, and they burn away to nothing in a brief streak of light. You know that streak. It is a shooting star. Most of the grains are no larger than sand, and they end their long journeys roughly 100 kilometers above your head. The flash lasts a moment, and then the sky is calm again. The shield never announces itself. It simply works night after night while the world sleeps. So the air warms the ground, scatters the blue, raises the clouds, and burns away the falling stones. All of it happens overhead, inside that one thin line the astronauts saw. It has been doing this without rest and without applause for as long as there has been anyone here to breathe. And beneath this ocean of air, the floor itself is quietly moving. The continents that seem so fixed and so still are travelers too, sliding along at their own patient pace. Their slow dance is where the story goes next. Beneath the ocean of air, the ground seems like the one still thing in the world. You stand on it. You build your home on it. You trust it without thinking, the way you trust the floor of a dark and familiar room. And yet the ground is moving. The continents are traveling, all of them, all the time. They move at about the speed your fingernails grow. A few centimeters in a year. No one feels it. No one has ever felt it. It is far too slow for feeling. But it is real and it never stops. The hills ride along with it. The cities ride along with it. Everything you have ever known has been carried on the same slow raft of stone. For a long time, people noticed something odd about the map of the world. The east coast of South America and the west coast of Africa seemed to fit together like two pieces of a torn page. For many years, this was called a coincidence. It is not a coincidence. Those two coasts once touched. An ocean has opened between them quietly, a few centimeters at a time, over a stretch of time almost too long to hold in the mind. Around 200 million years ago, nearly all the land on Earth was gathered into one great continent. Scientists call it Pangaea, a name that means all the land. In that age, you could have walked from what is now Brazil into what is now West Africa without ever crossing open water. Then, with no hurry at all, the great continent began to come apart. Cracks opened. The cracks widened into narrow seas. The narrow seas widened into oceans. The pieces have been traveling ever since, carrying their plains and their forests on their backs like slow rafts of stone. The Atlantic Ocean is one of those openings. It is still growing today. Every year it becomes a few centimeters wider. While you sleep, Europe and North America will ease apart by a distance far too small to see. But the years add up, and the centuries add up. In the 500 years since sailing ships began to cross it, the Atlantic has grown wider by about the length of a city bus. Down the middle of that ocean, hidden deep under the water, runs a long chain of underwater mountains. It is part of a ridge system that winds through all the oceans of the world, the longest mountain range on the planet. Almost no one has ever seen it. Along the crest of the ridge, the seafloor is slowly pulling apart. Melted rock rises into the gap from below, It meets the cold, dark water and hardens into new stone. This is where new crust is born. The floor near the ridge is young. The floor far from the ridge is old. The bottom of the ocean keeps a quiet record of all this spreading written in long bands of stone. In one place, the ridge lifts itself above the waves. That place is Iceland. The island sits directly on the seam, one half of it resting on the North American plate and the other half on the Eurasian plate. In the southwest of the island there is a rift valley, a low green corridor running between two walls of dark volcanic rock. One wall belongs to one plate. The far wall belongs to the other. You can walk down into the space between them. It is one of the few places on Earth where a person can stand between two plates in the open air. Moss softens the old lava. Clear, cold water fills the deep cracks in the valley floor. In the evening, a thin haze settles between the steep walls, and here and there a ribbon of steam rises from the warm ground. The valley grows slightly wider every year, so gently that the moss never notices. The whole surface of the planet is divided this way into great slow pieces called plates. They ride on the soft, hot rock beneath them, carried by the same deep warmth you visited near the beginning of this journey. Where plates pull apart, new floor is made. Where they press together, old floor is folded or drawn back down into the depths to melt again. Nothing is wasted. The planet has been reusing its own stone for billions of years, patiently the way the tide reuses the same water. There is something restful in this if you let there be. The map on the wall is only a photograph of one moment. The continents stood elsewhere before, and they will stand elsewhere again, long after every map has faded. Nothing on this planet is truly still, and nothing is in a hurry either. The land beneath your bed is traveling at the speed of a fingernail, and it will travel all night without waking you. And where two of these wandering continents lean into one another, the land has nowhere left to go but up. Slowly, patiently, stone climbs over stone until it carries snow in summer and thins the air at its crown. That is how the highest places in the world are built. Those high places are waiting for us next. When two continents finally meet, neither one can sink out of the way, and neither one will yield. The land caught between them has only one direction left: upward. That is how the greatest mountains on earth were made. It is also how they are still being made in this very hour while you rest. About 50 million years ago, the land that is now India was an island, moving slowly north across a warm sea. In its path lay the southern edge of Asia. The two land masses came together the way two sheets of ice come together on a slow river, without sound and without pause. The sea between them was squeezed away. Its floor was folded and stacked and lifted toward the sky. That meeting is not finished. India presses into Asia still, and because of it, the mountains between them are rising still. Those mountains are the Himalayas. Nearly all of the highest peaks on the planet stand there, side by side, white above the clouds. Everest stands among them, the highest point of land on Earth. And Everest is still growing. Each year the slow collision lifts the range by a few millimeters, about the thickness of a coin or two. No one has ever felt the mountain rise. But it rises quietly, the way a sleeping child grows. Near the summit of Everest there is a band of gray limestone. Limestone is a stone that forms on the floor of a sea. Inside that rock, high above the clouds, lie the traces of small creatures that once lived in warm, shallow water. Coiled shells, the stems of ancient sea lilies. They settled onto a quiet sea floor long before these mountains existed. Then the collision came, and the old sea floor was carried upward, year after year, until it stood higher than anything else on Earth. The top of the world is made from the bed of a vanished ocean. A climber who reaches it is standing on the memory of a sea. In the evening, the high peaks hold the light long after the valleys have gone dark. For a few minutes, the snow turns pink, a soft glow that mountain people call alpenglow. Then the color fades and the great ridges become jagged dark shapes against a sky full of stars. Glaciers rest in the high hollows, pale in the moonlight, creeping downhill a small distance each day. High wind lifts a thin banner of snow from the summit, and even that seems to unravel slowly against the stars. Everything up there moves at that pace. The mountains rise slowly. They wear away slowly. Nothing about them has ever needed to hurry. Not all mountains are young. In the east of North America runs a long chain of old ones, the Appalachians. They are hundreds of millions of years old, far older than the Himalayas, raised by collisions so ancient that the oceans involved have long since closed and vanished. Some scientists think they may once have stood as tall as the young ranges of today. Time has been gentle with them and also thorough. Rain has rounded their shoulders. Rivers have carved them low and carried them, grain by grain, toward the sea. Frost has pried their stones apart, one winter at a time. What remains is a country of long, soft ridges, folding away into blue evening mist, covered in forest, quiet as sleep. They are not lesser mountains. They are older ones. They are what every mountain becomes when it has had time enough. Erosion never announces itself. It is only rain on rock. It is wind carrying sand, and ice swelling in a thin crack, and a river running brown after a storm. A single year takes almost nothing from a mountain. But the years keep coming, and a mountain cannot step out of the rain. Little by little, the high places are carried down into the valleys, then down the rivers, and out at last to the sea, where new stone quietly begins. Even Everest will bow someday far beyond any calendar we keep. The rock does not mind. It has done all this before. Mountain time is not our time. A human life fits inside the life of a mountain the way a single breath fits inside a human life. The Himalayas have been rising since long before there were people anywhere to look at them, and they will go on rising long after. The Appalachians were already old before grass existed anywhere in the world. When you look at a mountain, you are looking at patience made solid. It asks nothing of you. It simply stands there holding up the sky while generations of birds and forests and travelers come and go along its slopes. If mountains teach anything, they teach this. Slow does not mean weak. The gentlest things, given time, reshape the hardest ones. And of all the gentle things at work on the mountains, the most patient is water. Soft, ordinary water, falling from the sky one drop at a time, resting in the snow, sliding away in small bright streams. One of those drops has a very long journey ahead of it. In the next chapter, we will follow it all the way home. The rain that wears the mountains down does not stay on the mountains. It is only passing through. Every drop of water on this planet is a traveler, and it has been traveling for a very long time. This chapter follows one drop along its long circular road. The journey begins on the open ocean, far from any shore. Sunlight falls on the surface and warms the uppermost layer of the water. One by one, the smallest parts of that water let go and rise into the air. They rise as vapor, invisible and weightless. Nothing about this looks like a beginning. The sea looks unchanged. Yet over every ocean on earth, hour after hour, water is quietly climbing into the sky. High above the waves, the air grows cooler. The vapor begins to gather on tiny floating specks, a grain of dust, a crystal of sea salt, things far too small to see. Around each speck, a droplet forms. A cloud is nothing more than countless droplets of this kind, each one so light that the gently rising air can hold it up. A cloud that looks solid enough to rest on is really a slow crowd of floating water. A single cloud droplet is much too small to fall. It takes a great many of them, meeting and merging, to build one raindrop heavy enough to leave the sky. So the cloud waits and grows and rides the wind toward land. When the cloud meets the mountains, the land itself lifts the air upward. The air cools as it climbs, and at last the cloud can hold its water no longer. Rain falls on the high slopes. On the cold peaks it falls as snow instead, and rests there through the winter, quiet and unhurried. In spring the snow softens and lets its water go, a little at a time. Now the drop begins to move downhill. It joins a trickle, and the trickle joins a stream, and the stream joins a river. What began as a silent fall from a cloud becomes a steady voice moving over stones. A waterfall at dusk turns to silk where the water lets go of the rock. Below it, the river gathers itself and carries on. On the plains, the river slows and begins to wander. Seen from above in the golden light of evening, it bends in wide, lazy loops. A river left to itself almost never travels in a straight line. It leans into its curves, carving the outer bank and laying sand along the inner one, so each loop grows rounder year after year. Sometimes a loop bends so far that the river cuts across its own neck, leaving behind a quiet, curved lake where the water simply rests. In this way, a river slowly rewrites its own path across the land, one gentle revision at a time, like a letter that is never quite finished. Near the sea, the river opens its hand. It divides into many smaller channels and lays down the fine, dark soil it has carried all this way. This branching place is called a delta. From high above at sunset, a delta glows like the veins of a leaf. The water that once fell on the peaks now walks the last few kilometers to the sea at the pace of an evening stroll. And then the drop is home. It slips back into the ocean it left, and the circle closes. It may stay near the sunlit surface and rise again within days. Or it may sink into the deep and rest in the cold dark for centuries before its turn comes around once more. Here is the quiet truth at the center of this story. Earth does not make new water, and it loses almost none. The water moving through the world now is the same water that has moved through it for billions of years, from sea to sky to land and back again. The rain that fell on the dinosaurs is not gone. It is still in the circle. The water in the glass beside your bed has been an ocean, a cloud, a river, and a morning mist, not once but countless times. You can watch a small piece of the cycle without going anywhere at all. On a cool morning, mist rises from a glassy river at dawn, because the night has chilled the air while the water below stayed warm. The mist is the river breathing. By the middle of the morning it is gone, back into the air, already traveling again. Even you are part of the journey. A large share of your body is water, borrowed from the circle for a while and one day returned to it. So when rain taps on the window in the dark, it is not a stranger. It is one of the oldest things you know, passing by on its endless round. Yet the rain does not visit every land equally. Some clouds give up all their water on the seaward side of the mountains and cross to the far side carrying almost nothing. Beyond those mountains lie wide, silent places where rain is a rare guest, coming a few times in a year or hardly at all. Those dry lands have a stillness all their own. They are where this journey turns next. The dry country begins where the clouds run out. Close to 1/3 of all the land on earth is dry, some of it gently, some of it almost complete. These are the deserts, and they are among the quietest places the planet owns. The word desert usually calls up sand, but sand is only one of its faces. Many deserts are wide plains of bare stone, swept clean by the wind over thousands of years. Some are floors of dark gravel, packed tight and stretching level to the horizon. Others are beds of cracked clay where a lake once stood, each dry tile curling softly at its edges in the twilight. And some are sheets of salt, white and almost perfectly flat, left behind where ancient water slowly dried away. What makes a desert is not sand, and it is not even heat. It is simply the absence of rain. In the driest deserts, years can pass between one rain and the next. There are valleys so dry that no one can say quite when rain last fell there. In air like that, nothing rusts and nothing rots. The land simply waits, holding its shape, keeping its silence. A sandy desert lives between two worlds every single day. In the afternoon, the sun pours down through cloudless air, and the surface of the sand grows too hot to stand on. Then the sun sets, and everything changes. In wetter lands, the moisture in the air holds the warmth of the day close to the ground, like a blanket drawn over the fields. The desert has no blanket. Under its dry, clear sky, the heat of the day rises straight up and away into space. The sand turns cool and then cold in the space of a few hours. By the middle of the night, dunes that burned at noon are cold to the touch. Small animals wait out the afternoon underground and come up to move about in the cool of the dark. The difference between those two worlds is only a little water in the air. The same dry air that lets the heat escape also opens a window to the stars. Desert nights are among the clearest on this planet. Above a single dark dune, the sky fills from edge to edge, layer upon layer of stars, steady and unblinking. It is no accident that many of the great telescopes of the world stand in deserts. Astronomers go where the air is thin and dry and still. So does the silence. The dunes beneath that sky look permanent, but they are travelers too. Wind rolls grains of sand up the long, gentle back of a dune, one grain at a time. At the sharp crest, each grain lets go and slides down the steep face on the other side. Grain by grain, the whole hill walks in the direction of the wind. A dune may move a few meters in a year. Stand beside one and you will never see it happen. Come back after many years and it has plainly gone on without you. Up close, the wind writes smaller patterns as well, low ripples that cross the sand in warm evening light, redrawn fresh after every storm. The sand even has a voice. In certain places, when a sheet of sand slips down the face of a dune, the whole slope hums with a single deep note, low and strange and carrying far. Travelers have written about the singing of the dunes for many centuries. It is only sand moving over sand. In the emptiness, that is enough to sound like music. Even here, life is waiting. Seeds rest in the dry ground for years, keeping still and spending nothing. Then a rare rain comes, and within days the desert floor turns briefly green, and flowers hurry to bloom and make new seeds before the water is gone. In the dry lands of the Americas, a lone cactus stands against the orange dusk, holding water inside its thick-ribbed column, patient between one rain and the next. Deserts are not empty. They are simply lands that have learned to wait. And for all their stillness, the deserts are quietly generous. Wind lifts the finest dust from the Sahara, much of it from beds where broad lakes stood long ago, and carries it high into the sky. Pale rivers of dust ride the wind out over the Atlantic Ocean, taking days to make the crossing. Far away, the dust settles over the Amazon forest, and the rain washes it down among the leaves. That dust carries minerals the forest soils need and slowly lose. So a desert on one side of an ocean helps feed a forest on the other. On this planet, nothing is truly separate from anything else. Even the driest place is part of the circle. Night settles over the dry country now. The dunes cool under their enormous sky. The salt flats hold the last violet light of evening, then let it go. The desert asks for nothing and hurries nowhere, and its stillness is a kind of rest that other landscapes never quite reach. Meanwhile, far across the water, the green forest that drinks the desert dust is breathing slowly in the dark. Its long, quiet breath is where this story goes next. Beyond the last of the dry country, the ground begins to hold water again. Where water stays in the soil, trees follow, and where trees gather, the air itself changes. You can feel the change before you see it. The temperature falls a little. The light turns soft and green. Sound no longer carries the way it does over open ground, because every noise is caught and folded into leaves. A forest is a slow machine for turning light into wood. Each leaf is a thin green sheet held out to the sun. Inside it, water drawn up from the roots meets carbon dioxide taken in from the air, and sunlight supplies the energy to join them. The leaf builds sugar out of those two plain ingredients, and the sugar becomes bark and root and seed and branch. What is left over at the end of that work is oxygen, and the leaf lets it go through pores far too small for the eye to find. That is the breath of the land, and it makes no sound at all. It happens in every leaf all day, everywhere the light falls. Far out at sea, countless plants too small to see are doing the same quiet work in the sunlit surface water. Between the green world and the blue one, the air has been kept breathable for a very long time. After dark, the exchange slows down. The pores close, the leaves rest, and the forest gives a little of it back. It does not sleep the way you do, but everything in it slows. This is the stillest hour in the woods. Moonlight comes down between tall pine trunks and narrow pale bars, and the fallen needles are printed with them, and nothing moves but the slow cooling of the ground. Trees move water as well as light. One large tree can lift hundreds of liters out of the soil on a warm day and carry it up the trunk through channels finer than a hair. Very little of that water is kept. Most of it leaves through the undersides of the leaves as vapor and rises above the canopy. Multiply a single tree by a whole forest, and the forest becomes a fountain pointed at the sky. The Amazon does this on a scale that is hard to hold in the mind. Rain there does not simply arrive from the ocean and run away to the sea again. A great deal of it falls, is pulled back up through roots, is breathed out again by leaves, and falls a second time farther inland. The moisture crosses the basin in stages, handed from tree to cloud to tree. The forest waters a large part of itself, and above the treetops there are rivers of vapor wider than any river on the ground. That is why the morning there begins in fog. Before the sun is high, the air holds more water than it can carry, and the extra hangs between mossy trunks in long pale sheets that hardly move. Seen from above at that hour, the canopy looks like a green sea with mist lying in its hollows. Only the tallest crowns stand clear of it, and by the middle of the morning the mist has lifted and joined the clouds. Trees keep time differently from us. A coast redwood can stand for 2,000 years, and its bark grows so thick and so deeply furrowed that the trunk becomes a landscape of its own, warm brown in the last light of the evening. Higher and drier, in the thin cold air of the white mountains of California, bristlecone pines live longer still. The oldest of them have been alive for close to 5,000 years. They add rings so narrow that a decade of growth is hard to see with the eye alone, and they were already ancient when the first cities were new. Beneath all of it lies the part that is never seen. The soil is threaded with fungus, fine pale strands running from root to root, trading minerals for sugar and passing both between trees. What shows above ground is only the fruit of that hidden web, a few soft mushrooms on a mossy log in the dim green light. Most of the living forest is underground, and it works without a sound. Follow the trees north, and they begin to change. The broad leaves give up first, then the mixed woods thin out, and what remains is a belt of spruce and fir and larch that wraps around the top of the world. This is the boreal forest, the largest stand of trees on the planet, running across Canada and Scandinavia and the whole width of Russia. The trees there are narrow and dark, shaped to shed snow from their branches. The winters are long and quiet. You could walk for a month and the view would barely change. Even that great belt comes to an end. The spruces grow shorter and stand farther apart, then give way to low shrubs, then stop altogether. There is a ragged line where the last tree stands, and beyond it the ground opens out and turns pale. The breathing forests end there, at the beginning of the ice. Past the last tree the land keeps going, but nothing tall grows on it. The ground becomes tundra, then snow that never leaves, and at both ends of the planet, the world turns white. These are the coldest and quietest places on Earth. They are also where most of the fresh water on the planet is kept. Antarctica is the larger of the two ends. It is a continent buried under its own weather. Snow fell there and did not melt, and more snow fell on top of it, and the layers were pressed down into ice, year after year, for millions of years. In places more than 3 kilometers of ice lie between the sky and the rock underneath. The weight is so great that it has pushed parts of the land below the level of the sea. Far more fresh water is held here than in all the rivers and lakes of the world together, standing still and frozen. It is the largest store of water there is, and almost none of it is going anywhere. It waits in the cold through the bright half of the year and the dark half alike. The ice keeps records without meaning to. As each year of snow was buried, it trapped small bubbles of air and sealed them in place. Drill down and bring up a core, and you are holding a column of old weather, layer under layer, with the air of hundreds of thousands of winters still shut inside it. Nothing was written down. The ice simply kept it. It is also the coldest place there is. High on the interior plateau, in the deep of winter, the temperature has been measured close to -90 degrees Celsius. Air that cold is very dry and very still. Snow there often does not fall in flakes at all. It arrives as fine crystals that hang in the air and catch the light. At the ends of the world, the day does not behave the way it does elsewhere. Stand near either pole, and the sun will not set for months. It goes around the sky in a low, slow circle instead, leaning toward the horizon and rising again without ever touching it. Then, in the other half of the year, it does not rise at all. The dark lasts for months, softened at its edges by a long blue twilight. The sea does something remarkable each year, slowly enough that you would hardly notice it from a boat. In autumn, the surface of the Southern Ocean begins to freeze, and the ice spreads outward from the coast across an enormous width of water. By the end of winter, it has grown until it nearly doubles the size of the continent. Then the sun returns and most of it melts away. The frozen sea takes one long breath in and lets it out once a year, every year. On land, the ice is not still either, though its movement is hard to call motion. Ice under enough pressure behaves like a very thick liquid. It creeps downhill. The great sheets spread outward under their own weight, and where the land funnels them into valleys, they become glaciers, rivers of ice moving between walls of rock. Most travel a few meters in a year. A few move far faster, and their surfaces are broken open into deep blue crevasses by the strain of it. Where a glacier reaches the sea, the ice keeps going out over the water until it can no longer carry its own weight, and pieces break away. That is where icebergs come from. Each one is fresh water, snow that fell a very long time ago, drifting out into the salt to be given back. Most of an iceberg is below the surface. What shows above the water is the small pale part of something much larger and much older. The northern end of the world is built the other way around. In the south, ice sits on a continent ringed by ocean. In the north, there is no continent at the pole at all. There is ocean covered by a floating lid of sea ice, with the land arranged around it. That ice is thinner and never still, cracking and closing and pressing together into low ridges as the wind and the currents move it. Wind is the other sculptor. It blows almost without pause across the flat interior, and it carves the loose snow into hard, low waves, all lying in the same direction and firm enough to walk on. In the blue hour before the light goes, those waves hold a color that is not quite blue and not quite gray, and their shadows run long and soft across the surface. Nothing here is in a hurry. The ice took 100,000 years to gather. The sea will freeze again in the autumn, as it always has, and open again in the spring. And through all of it, through the long day and the longer night, one light keeps circling the sky above the frozen sea. In the polar winter, the moon can climb up and stay up for days at a time, going around and around without setting, laying a pale road across the ice. It has kept company with this planet for a very long while, and it did not arrive gently. Over the white ends of the world, and over every dark ocean between them, a pale light falls on most clear nights. It is easy to take that light for granted. It has shone on every night of your life, and on every night of every life before yours. It comes from the moon, the oldest companion this planet has ever had. The moon was born from Earth itself in the earliest days of the solar system. More than 4 billion years ago, when Earth was still young and still raw, another world came toward it out of the dark. It was a body about the size of Mars. The two met, and the collision melted rock and threw a vast cloud of debris into space around the wounded planet. For a while, the young Earth wore a ring of glowing rubble. Slowly and patiently, the rubble gathered itself together, the way Earth itself had once gathered from dust. Peace found peace. The pieces became the moon. At first the moon hung close, far closer than it is now. It would have loomed huge in the sky, a molten face above a molten world, and the tides it raised then were far stronger than any tide today. But both worlds cooled, and both settled down, and the moon began a long, slow retreat that has never stopped. That retreat continues to this day. The moon moves away from Earth by about 4 centimeters every year. That is all. Scientists measure this by bouncing light off, reflectors resting on the lunar dust, and timing the journey there and back. Year by year, the round trip grows slightly longer. Across a human lifetime, the moon slips away by only a few meters. The partnership is in no danger. It is only loosening with unhurried grace over spans of time far too large to feel. As the moon eases away, it also slows the turning of the Earth very gently. Long ago, the days here were shorter than they are now. The planet has been unwinding for billions of years, like a great clock relaxing. And this is a working partnership, not just a light in the dark. The gravity of the moon reaches across space and takes a gentle hold of the oceans. It draws the water toward itself, and the seas rise in a broad, low swell. As the planet turns beneath that swell, the tide comes in along one shore after another, and then goes out again. Most coasts feel the rhythm twice each day. Harbors fill and empty. At low tide, wet sand flats appear and mirror the evening sky. Small pools of seawater remain among the dark rocks, each one holding a piece of the fading light, waiting quietly for the sea to come back. The rhythm never breaks. It was beating long before there were any eyes to watch it. The moon does something else, harder to see and just as steady. Earth spins with a lean, like a top that tilts a little as it turns. The pull of the moon helps hold that lean in place. Without so large a moon, astronomers believe the tilt of this planet could wander widely over millions of years, and the climates would wander with it. Instead, the lean stays close to the same angle, age after age. The moon acts as a quiet counterweight, a steadying hand resting on the shoulder of the world. And through all of this, the moon keeps one face turned toward us. It does rotate, but it turns exactly once for each journey it makes around the earth, so the same side always looks our way. The far side is not dark. It receives sunlight just as the near side does. It is only hidden from us, the way the far shoulder of a dancer is hidden from the partner being held. Every person who has ever looked up has seen the same face, the same soft gray plains, the same bright highlands, the same familiar pattern of shadows. Your grandparents saw that pattern. The very first people saw it too. It has not changed in all the time our kind has existed. There is a kind of loyalty in that, or something near enough that the word feels right. The moon has no air, no weather, and no sound. Its light is not even its own. It is sunlight resting for a moment on old gray stone, and then traveling on to us. That borrowed light takes only a little more than a second to cross the space between the two worlds. When the moon rises behind a dark headland, and the calm sea slowly turns silver beneath it, you are watching one partner look after the other, as it has done for 4 billion years. So the earth does not travel alone. It leans as it spins, and the lean is held steady by a companion in the dark. That lean seems like a small detail, a few degrees and nothing more. Yet it quietly shapes the life of the entire planet. It decides when the leaves turn red, and when the snow arrives, and when the first warm evening of spring finally comes. It writes a calendar that every living thing obeys. That is where the story goes next. For now the moon climbs a little higher, the tide turns somewhere below it, and the old partnership carries on. The lean of the earth is small, and it is easy to overlook. The axis of the planet tilts by about 23.5 degrees, and it holds that angle faithfully as the planet circles the sun. If you could stand far away and watch a whole year pass, you would see the planet leaning the same way through the entire journey, like a ship holding a steady heel on a long and gentle voyage. Out of that one quiet fact, the whole calendar of the world unfolds. It is natural to guess that the seasons come from distance. Summer when we are near the sun, winter when we are far away. That would be a tidy story, but it is not the true one. The orbit of the Earth is very nearly a circle. In fact, the planet is slightly closer to the Sun in January, in the depth of the northern winter, than it is in the height of the northern summer. Distance is not the reason the year turns. The lean is the reason. For one part of the year, the northern half of the planet is tipped toward the Sun. Sunlight arrives from high overhead then, direct and generous, and the days stretch long. That is summer in the north. The sun climbs early, lingers late, and lays long golden shadows across the wheat fields in the calm of the evening. Half a year later, the same half of the planet is tipped away. The sun stays low even at midday. Its light lands at a shallow slant and spreads thin across the ground, and the days grow short. That is winter. A low sun over a frozen field gives light without much warmth, like a lamp that brightens a room without heating it. And the south always keeps the opposite season. While the north leans toward the sun, the south leans away. While northern children swim in the warm light of a long evening, snow is falling quietly on the far side of the world. When the north finally turns to winter, midsummer arrives in the south. The planet shares its light fairly, half a world at a time, and no season is ever lost. It is only somewhere else. This slow exchange has 4 quiet turning points. In late June, the north is tipped most fully toward the sun, and it receives its longest day. In late December, it is tipped most fully away, and it receives its shortest one. These 2 moments are called solstices. Between them come 2 moments of balance, one in March and one in September, when neither pole leans toward the sun. Those are the equinoxes, and on those days the hours of light and dark are nearly equal almost everywhere on earth. Nothing loud happens on these 4 days. They pass like soft chimes in the rhythm of the year. The warmth of the year always runs a little behind the light. Land and ocean take time to warm, the way deep water in a lake stays cool long into the first hot days. So the hottest weeks of summer arrive well after the longest day, and the coldest weeks of winter arrive well after the shortest one. The seasons breathe slowly. They are always a few steps behind the sun, and they never hurry to catch up. Between the 2 extremes lie the gentle seasons. In autumn, the sun drops lower week by week, and the light itself turns amber and soft. Maple leaves glow deep red in that low light, as if holding the last of the summer inside them. Mornings come later, and the first frost silvers the meadows before dawn. A bare tree stands in the snow at the blue hour of dusk, patient, keeping its shape through the cold. Then, on the far side of winter, everything is given back. The light climbs again. The frost withdraws, and the bare branches quietly fill with green. Nothing is ever truly taken away by the tilt of the earth. Everything is returned at its own pace in its own season. The farther you travel from the equator, the more deeply you feel the lean. Near the equator, The days barely change their length all year, and the seasons arrive as rains and dry spells instead. In the middle latitudes, the year swings gently between long, bright evenings and early winter dusk. And close to the poles, the lean is everything. There, the same tilt lowers the sun into the long polar night of winter and lifts it into the endless pale evenings of summer. A summer evening in the far north can last for hours, the sky glowing gold long after the working day is done. One simple angle writes all of it. So the year is not a journey toward the sun and away from it. It is a slow bow made once around, with the planet leaning at its constant angle while the light moves gently over it. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. They are the same lean seen from different places along the path. And in the deep winter dark of the far north, where the lean hides the sun for weeks, the night sky sometimes offers a gift of its own. Great curtains of green light unfold silently overhead. Where that light comes from is the next part of the story. It begins, strangely enough, deep inside the earth. In the far north, the long winter night is not always dark. Every so often the sky above the snow begins to glow. Slow ribbons of green light appear overhead, folding and unfolding like curtains in a soft wind. People have watched these lights for thousands of years, from doorways and hillsides and the decks of ships. The story of where the lights come from begins deep inside the planet, in a place that no light has ever reached. Far beneath your feet, deeper than the crust, deeper than the slow warm rock of the mantle, there is an ocean of liquid iron. You have been there once before on this journey. It is the outer core, and it never rests. Heat rises through it. The planet turns around it. The molten iron answers with slow rolling currents, wider than countries, moving patiently in the dark. And moving iron does something quiet. It makes a magnetic field. The turning currents of the core weave that field around the entire planet, day after day, age after age. You cannot see this field, and you cannot feel it, but it reaches up through the rock, up through the ocean, up through the air, and far out into space. It wraps the whole world in a wide, invisible shell. For as long as anyone can say, that shell has simply been there, steady and silent, asking for no attention at all. It matters because the sun is more than warm light. The sun also breathes out a thin and endless stream of tiny charged pieces of matter. This stream is called the solar wind. It flows outward through the whole solar system, day and night, year after year, washing over every world in its path. When the solar wind arrives here, the magnetic field meets it first, far above the atmosphere. Most of the stream is bent gently aside, the way a river parts around a standing stone. But near the poles, the lines of the field curve down toward the ground. Some of the arriving particles are guided along those curving lines, sliding down toward the top of the air like beads on long invisible wires. High above the ground, far above the highest clouds, the falling particles begin to meet the thin air. When they strike oxygen, the oxygen glows, and most of that glow is a soft, pale green. Higher still, the oxygen can glow a deep and quiet red. The glowing begins about 100 kilometers overhead, in air so thin it is almost not there at all. This is the aurora. In the north, people call it the Northern Lights. In the south, around the other pole, the very same glow appears at the very same time, like a reflection in a mirror. From the ground, the aurora moves like something alive and unhurried. Great arcs of green stretch from one edge of the sky to the other. Curtains of light ripple and sway, brighten and fade, gather and thin. The glow falls on snowy hills and frozen rivers. A still dark lake will hold a second aurora on its surface, upside down and perfectly calm. Through a gap in the tall black pines, the whole sky flickers green for a while and then rests. There is no sound. The largest display of light on the planet is completely silent. The same field that paints the poles also does smaller and humbler work. It is the reason the needle of a compass settles toward the north. Some birds seem to sense the field as they travel, reading it quietly on their long journeys, the way a sailor once read the stars. The field is an old helper, woven far below, used by wings and needles alike. Seen from orbit, the night side of the planet is a picture worth looking at slowly. Astronauts pass over it again and again, a few hundred kilometers up, crossing from evening into night in less than an hour. Below them, cities glow in warm golden patches, joined to one another by thin threads of light where the roads run. Coastlines are drawn in light because towns gather near the sea. Rivers show themselves as dark curving lines through the brightness. Out over the open ocean, there is almost nothing, only darkness and the occasional lonely ship. Thunderstorms flicker deep inside distant clouds, silent from that height like lamps behind curtains. Above the dark curve of the horizon hangs a faint green band called airglow, the thin upper air shining softly on its own, even on nights when the aurora stays away. And over the poles the aurora spreads out beneath the passing travelers like slow green smoke, rolling quietly against the dark. So the night side of the earth is never truly still and never truly dark. The core keeps turning. The invisible shell keeps holding. The sky keeps glowing gently at both ends of the world, whether anyone is watching or not. It has done this since long before there were eyes to see it, and it will go on doing it long after this night is over. And beneath all of those lights, in the lowest few kilometers of air, along the shorelines and under the forest branches, something rarer than any glow is gathered. Everything that is alive rests there, in one thin and quiet layer. That layer is where this journey goes next. Beneath the aurora, beneath the glowing cities, beneath the quiet weather of the night, there is a layer that makes this planet different from every other world we know. It is the layer of the living. Everything that has ever crawled, swum, bloomed, or breathed has done so here, inside one narrow band of air, water, and soil. The band is thinner than it feels. Remember the deep trench beneath the western Pacific. Even on its floor, about 11 kilometers down, a few hardy creatures live quietly in the cold and the dark. The highest birds ever recorded have passed about 11 kilometers above the ground. Almost everything else alive stays far closer to the surface than either of those edges. From the deepest water to the highest wing beat, the whole span of life covers little more than 20 kilometers. Set that against the planet itself, which is nearly 13,000 kilometers wide. Compared with the whole Earth, the living layer is as thin as the film of mist your breath leaves on cold glass. If you could hold the planet in your hand, life would be a film too thin to feel with your fingertip. Every forest, every whale, every city, every garden fits inside that film. And yet inside so narrow a space, life is present in numbers the mind cannot hold. Pick up a handful of dark garden soil. It looks quiet. It is not. That one handful holds billions of microscopic living things, more tiny lives than there are people on the whole planet. Threads of fungus run through the ground like fine white roots, joining plant to plant beneath the surface. A single spoonful of earth is a crowded world of its own, busy in a way too small and too slow for us to notice. Life covers the hard places gently and without complaint. On an old boulder, moss lays down a soft green blanket, holding the morning damp. Beside it, lichen spreads in pale, patient circles, and some of those circles have been growing since before anyone alive was born. In the dark soil at the edge of a forest, a single green sapling stands in a shaft of gentle light, already reaching upward. Nothing about any of this is hurried. Life takes the time it takes. Life is also stubborn in a calm and patient way. There are living things inside solid rock, kilometers below the surface, resting in the dark and using almost no energy at all, dividing perhaps once in a very long while. There are living things in the ice of the poles, and in hot springs where the water nearly boils, and in deserts that wait years between one rain and the next. Wherever there is even a little water and even a little food, something small has found a way to stay. The layer of the living is thin, but it soaks into every crack that is offered. In dim blue water, a coral reef rises slowly from the seafloor. It looks like stone, but it was built by tiny, soft animals, layer upon layer, over hundreds and thousands of years. Fish move through its towers without hurry in the low blue light. A reef is a city raised by builders smaller than a fingernail, and it grows the way all patient things grow, one thin layer at a time. On a summer night above a dark meadow, fireflies rise and blink in the warm air, each one a small cool lamp carried by a small quiet life. Before morning, dew gathers along the curve of a fern, one clear drop at a time, each drop holding a tiny bent picture of the world. These are little things. The living layer is mostly made of little things, doing steady work that mostly goes unseen. All of it is joined backward through time. Life on this planet has continued without a single break for well over 3 billion years. Every tree, every bird, every microbe in the soil is a link in that one unbroken chain. Nothing alive today began from nothing. Everything alive today was handed its life quietly by something that lived before it. The chain has passed through heat and ice, through rising seas and falling ones, and it has never once let go. And here is a plain fact said softly and without pride. Of all the worlds ever found, near or far, this is the only one known to be alive. There may be others. The universe is wide, and the search has only begun. But as of now, every reef, every forest, every blade of grass known to exist is here, on this one small planet, inside this one thin layer resting between the deep rock and the dark of space. That is not a heavy thought to carry into sleep. It is a quiet one. The layer of the living does not announce itself. It simply goes on, breathing and blooming and mending, night after night, the way it has for ages beyond counting. Strangely, the best way to see how thin and how precious this layer is has never been from inside it. To see it clearly, a few travelers once had to leave it behind altogether and go a long way out into the dark and then turn around and look back. For almost the whole of this story, the view has been from the inside. You stand on the crust. You breathe at the bottom of the ocean of air. You watch the sky from below, one small patch of the planet at a time. Every person who ever lived has seen the world this way. For nearly all of human history, nobody had ever seen the whole of it at once. Then, in the December of 1968, 3 astronauts traveled farther from home than anyone had ever gone. Their mission was called Apollo 8. They were not going to land on the moon. Their task was to circle it several times, study its gray surface, and return safely. Again and again they passed behind it, and for long minutes the moon stood between them and everything they had ever known. On one of those orbits, as the spacecraft came around from behind the far side, the crew looked out and saw something no person had ever seen before. Above the gray and lifeless horizon of the moon, the Earth was rising. It was small enough to cover with an outstretched thumb. It was blue and white and softly bright, the only color in a sky of perfect black. The astronauts reached for their cameras. The photograph they brought home came to be known as Earthrise. It shows the moon in the foreground, dry and still and ancient. Above it hangs the Earth, a marble of ocean and cloud, alive with weather and light. The crew had traveled nearly 400,000 kilometers to study the moon. What they found, many of them said afterward, was the Earth. Since that December, hundreds of people have gone into orbit and looked down. They described the same quiet surprises. The ocean of air you traveled through earlier shows itself honestly from up there. It is only a thin glowing line resting along the curve of the planet, holding every cloud and every breath inside it. Storms turn slowly over the ocean, white spirals of cloud on deep blue water. Deserts glow gold and rust in the afternoon light. Lightning flickers inside distant clouds, soft and silent from that height. And when a spacecraft crosses onto the night side, the cities appear, small speckles of warm light scattered across the dark land. One thing is missing from the view. From orbit, there are no lines between countries. The borders that fill our maps are ideas, not features of the land, and the land itself shows almost none of them. Astronaut after astronaut has come home saying some version of the same thing. From above, the world looks like one place. One ocean touches every shore. One layer of air moves over every country. It is a single blue and white whole, shared by everything alive. The farther away the camera goes, the smaller and quieter the planet becomes. In 1990, a spacecraft called Voyager 1 was on its way out of the solar system after many years of travel among the outer planets. By then, it was about 6 billion kilometers from home. Before its cameras were switched off forever, it was turned around to take one last set of pictures, a kind of family portrait of the planets. In one of those frames, the Earth appears as a single pale point, smaller than one full dot of light, resting inside a soft ray of scattered sunlight. The picture came to be called the pale blue dot. Everything in this story sits inside that point. The molten beginning and the slow cooling. The deep fire under the floor and the thin crust above it. The water that stayed, the ocean of air, the wandering continents, the patient mountains. Every raindrop on its long journey, every quiet desert, every breathing forest, every field of ice. The steady pull of the moon, the tilt that makes the seasons, the green lights over the poles, and the whole thin layer of the living. From 6 billion kilometers away, all of it fits inside a pale point, and the point is easy to miss against the dark. That is not a sad thought. It is a calm one. A small world can be seen all at once, and known and cared for. A small world can be held in one photograph on one wall, and looked at slowly, the way you would look at a picture of someone you love. The astronauts came home to the blue and the white. Their photographs stayed behind in books and classrooms and quiet hallways, gently reminding everyone what home looks like from far away. And the planet itself paid no attention. It went on turning exactly as it had before, carrying its oceans and forests and cities through the sunlight and back into the shadow. It is turning now. While you rest, the line of evening is sliding slowly across the surface, and the quiet half of the world is filling with sleep. Seen from far away, the earth is one small blue light hanging in the dark. Seen from here, it is simpler still. It is the floor and the air and the rain and the bed beneath you. And on the night side of that small blue world, it is time to close the day. The story of the earth does not really end. It only comes around, like the planet itself, to the dark and restful side of things. So this last chapter is not about facts. It is about the night. Right now, half of the planet is turned toward the sun, and half is turned away. On the day side, there is light and noise and hurry. On the night side, a great quiet has settled in. Billions of living things are asleep at this very moment. Birds rest in the branches with their heads tucked into their feathers. Cats lie curled in warm corners. In dark pastures, horses doze on their feet. Out in the black water, whales rest near the surface, rising gently now and then to breathe. And in countless rooms across the shadowed half of the world, people are lying still, breathing slowly, while the planet carries them through the dark. The earth does not need anyone to keep watch. It never has. Far from every coast, the moonlit sea is rising and falling, and no one is there to see it. Waves are folding onto beaches where no footprints wait. The tide is coming in on one quiet shore and going out on another. The deep trenches lie as still and dark as they have lain for ages. The ocean does not pause when the audience goes to bed. The forests are resting too. The daylight work of the leaves is finished, and the long green rows of them have gone quiet until morning. The boreal forest stands silent under a field of stars, holding the cold easily the way it always does. On the high dry slopes, the oldest pines are passing another night, one more night in a life of thousands of years. Fog is settling into the valleys. An owl crosses a clearing without a sound. Nothing in the forest is worried. The night is simply one more room in the same greenhouse. The ice keeps its long watch at the ends of the world. The great white sheets lie still under the polar sky, holding their ancient snow. The glaciers are still moving, slower than sleep, patient beyond all measuring. Nothing there has ever needed to hurry, and nothing ever will. And the moon is where it has always been, keeping its steady distance, showing its familiar face. Its borrowed light is falling on the sea. Soft clouds cross it slowly and let it go again. Moonlight lies on rooftops, on hillsides, on the folded wings of sleeping birds. The tides follow it around the planet like a slow, deep breath. Come closer now. Down through the quiet air, down to a dark countryside where low hills roll under the stars. There is a house with one warm lit window. Inside, a small lamp glows beside a bed, and the house has gone quiet the way houses do, one room at a time. Maybe that room is like yours. Maybe it is yours. You do not need to do anything else now. There is nothing to hold up, and nothing to finish, and nothing to guard. The planet has been turning for 4.5 billion years, and it has never once needed help. It will keep turning while you sleep. Gravity will keep holding you, softly and without effort, the way it has held everything since the beginning. The air will be there for every breath, all night long, without being asked. Far above your roof, the invisible shield of the magnetic field is holding steady as it holds every night, letting the green lights bloom quietly over the poles. Morning is already real. It is not waiting to be made. At this moment it is simply elsewhere, resting on other hills and other seas. Dawn is a place on the planet, and the planet is slowly turning you toward it. That is all morning has ever been. You do not have to reach for it. It will arrive on its own, the way it has arrived every day since the sky first cleared. So let the images of this long story go now, one by one, like lamps turned down in a hallway. Good night to the ocean, with its slow silver waves and its patient deep. Good night to the rivers on their long way home to the sea. Good night to the deserts, cooling quietly under the sharpest stars. Good night to the soft clouds and to the rain they will hand tomorrow to the hills. Good night to the forests and every sleeping bird in every branch. Good night to the mountains, still rising, in no hurry at all. Good night to the ice and the long white silence it keeps. Good night to the moon, faithful in the dark, silvering the water. And good night to the small blue planet itself, the one that has carried you all day, the one that is carrying you now. It will carry you until morning. It will turn you gently through the deep hours and up again into the light. It has done this for every sleeper who has ever closed their eyes, and it will do it for you. The night is calm. The house is quiet. The earth is still turning softly in the dark. Good night, earth, and good night to you. Sleep well.